opened, we have David from Houghton Spring. Hello, David.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Good, man. Thank you for coming on. I gather you're involved with the Save the Cooperage campaign.
That's right, yes, I am.
What's your role in all of this, then?
I'm a Freeman of the city of Newcastle. I'm the senior steward of the Cooper's company, which means that historically my company made barrels,
Right.
and occasionally when the plague was in town we made coffins. And I've gotten involved because the Cooperage is our ancestral home, so to speak. It's sort of the figurehead where we all come from. And Cooperage is one of those places instantly recognisable on the quayside, and I want to get involved and see if we can save the building.
Why did it come to a situation of threat? Because from what I remember back in the day, and I even had one of my many wedding receptions there, which is therefore I was worried it was a curse because not many of them went terribly well. So what got it to this stage? Because it seemed to be a thriving business for years.
To the best of my knowledge, it was a thriving business for years. I mean, I spent many a happy year as an undergraduate in there, doing what undergraduates do and seeing lots of local bands in there, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And the best of my knowledge, I haven't kept up to date with the owners. The Arthur family sold it on a few years ago. It remained a pub. But to the best of my knowledge, it just simply, they didn't make enough money, they closed the doors, and it was sold to a property developer. And I think the idea is that it's just waiting an opportunity to be redeveloped and looking for perhaps a change of ownership to see if we can revitalise, perhaps bring back some of the magic that used to be. I mean, it's a very special place. I mean, you've been there many, many times yourself. You know, it's a strange place. There's some spooky or weird goings-on in there. Which I'm sure you're aware of.
I am, but yes, the history of the place, and
absolutely.
When I first started to get involved with the people that ran the Cooperage over the years, because they had me down there for putting bands on sometimes, watching bands, because I was there probably next to you at the bar, watching just what was going on and getting a bit of crack like you did, because it was a place where it didn't matter what style of music you were talking about. There was a lot of hairies, a lot of punks, a lot of new romantic. There was a bit of everything in the Cooperage, which was one of the joys of the place. But the history, I mean, when you hear stories about them putting the kid on the roof to watch for press gangs and ringing the bell in the bar, and then everybody disappears out the side door up the hill, you know, running away to make sure that they didn't get press gang, and ended up with murdering the guy, nailing him to the side door. I mean, you can't buy history like this kind of stuff. You can't,
yes. The whole quayside area is just full of the most wonderful history, and it'd be such a shame if we lost the Cooperage. I mean, if you look at, the success of the Red House, the Red House wasn't in particularly good state a few years ago, and now it's absolutely through. We were in there about a month ago or something. You couldn't get moved on a Friday night.
And you're only talking, 30 yards, 40 yards, just around the corner?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And it needs to be, I think the Cooperage needs to be restored, brought back to life, made into a proper pub again.
Absolutely.
Maybe not like the glory days of going to see punk rock bands there, or it was techno in my day, some things like that. But, it's been nice to see some of those things back again. And, of course, you know, what's going to happen to the old toilets, for instance? I mean, there was some... You know, I've been listening to your show for many, many years, 40-odd years or something, and, I used to listen to the spooky goings-on, and there was some weird stuff, truly weird stuff happened in the Cooperage toilets, and I'm not just talking about funny stuff, I went in there not making this up, I went in there one night, we doing what gentlemen do in the pub, drinking far too many pints of 80 bob, and I went and I was using one of the urinals, and I heard somebody come in behind me as this sort of thing happened, and I heard them making a lot of noise, and when I turned around, there was nobody there. Right. And I went, okay, you've had too much, time to go home. And, you know, friends outside going, why have you gone white as a sheet? It's your round. And you go, I can't tell you because you won't believe me and you'll just take the mickey.
A lot of people, though, especially the upstairs, you know, the higher up the building you got, seemed to be, there was a different kind of feeling altogether. And I was talking to some of the bar staff there, and apparently at the end, sometimes the upstairs rooms were like functions and you know, private functions that people could hire and what have you. And if they were working the top floor, as soon as the last person from the function disappeared, It was
straight
like
downstairs.
everyone was running, was running away to make sure they didn't have to stay up there for any length of time. There's obviously, but hey, you can't have that much history in one place. And if you look along the quayside, and yes, you've got the Red House, which has been brought up to modern standards. You've got a window and a plaque, haven't you? Essentially, is the history of the building, the story of the lady herself who eloped.
Bessie Cersei's house to Lord Eldon, yeah.
Absolutely. So you've got that, lovely, but what looks like it's time, because it doesn't particularly. It fits in quite nicely with the modern shops and stores around it, but the Cooperage. Yeah, you're back in time just looking at the place. And the stairs up, that lead up, to the
long stairs,
the castle keeper. Oh my goodness!
You run up there to see if your heart's still working. If you can make it to the top without fainting, you're in good condition.
But mind you, the last time I was down there, and it wasn't that long ago, I did a little radio feature on it, probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and the outside wall looked like it's getting nearer and nearer to almost being an arch. With the building next door to it, it's sticking out there, man.
I went there on Thursday afternoon just to have a look at the place, and I was slightly taken aback. I was shocked by the state of the doors, shocked by the state, but it looked as if there'd been some repair work done. There's it looked like somebody had been up to something with some of the drain pipes. Maybe they're trying to improve the water flow. But I was appalled by the amount of graffiti, the amount of, say, what you would call paraphernalia down there. Not healthy, not a good place.
No, but this is what happens when places aren't used, though, you see. That's the thing.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
So if it was brought back.
Absolutely. If it was being used, I'm sure that wouldn't be an issue. I know we've got some more people wishing to talk about that. If anybody has got a great memory of the Cooperage, give us a ring. Tony, who's a taxi driver, said, I picked the previous owner up a few years ago. He was telling me the council would only allow 2 days opening a week due to complaints about noise from an apartment block that was built next door. He couldn't afford to run it on just 2 days, so he closed it down.
That's a shame, yeah.
But there's got to be a way around that. I mean, okay, we'll just not get your techno lot in, not get my rocky lot in. But do it a different way. There's got to be.
There's got to be lots of things you could do with a building like that. I mean, it doesn't have to be loud music 24/7.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've got the Riverside, not far away, isn't it? Sure. Memory serves, the Riverside's not all that far away.
No, it's a shame.
So it's a shame.
Well, I'm glad you're doing battle for it. Put me down if I can help in any shape or form. I have so many memories of that place. I mean, it's just joyous. When you see it and when you look at what's happened in there. Just lifts your spirits, because it could do that again. It could absolutely do that again.
Well, one of the good things you see is that we've got I need to actually mention this to the guys who are actually on the Cooperage, is that I've been making some phone calls this weekend, talking to people from as far afield as Glasgow, as far afield as London, where coopering, the craft of making barrels, is making something of a comeback. A lot of the medieval crafts that the Freemen of Newcastle represent, coopering, making barrels, is one of the few that's actually coming back because of the interest in bespoke beers and sort of custom beers and wines and whiskies, particularly north of the border. Coopering is growing and growing and growing. I was at a ceremony back in March attended by Prince, what's the youngest one called?
Harry.
I can't remember.
Harry.
Not Harry. No, not Harry. No, the Queen's son. God, I can't remember.
The Queen's son, Charles. Edward.
The next one, Edward. Prince Edward, that's the one. Sorry. I got sudden brain fuse. I was at 44 Coopers got the credentials.
Oh, that's great. Tremendous.
Craftsmen.
Yeah.
But they're north of the border.
Right.
The thing is, we've got to try and bring coopering back south of the border.
Absolutely.
So that we're in this side of the river and see what we can do. So coopering's growing. And we reckon we could probably turn it into some kind of heritage centre, demonstrations of making barrels, that sort of thing. Maybe hopefully get some of the other local breweries involved, that sort of thing. Just trying to get some interest going. It would be such a shame to see this whole thing knocked down and a bunch of student apartments replace it. It would be awful.
I just think there's so many options for the place as well. Historically, it just has to be saved. Good luck to you, David. Bless you, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. There you go. He's a Freeman of Newcastle upon Tyne. I'm not. I'm the first ever Freeman of Benwell. How about that? And went to a ceremony many moons ago. But I still haven't taken me sheep through there, though, but it's only a matter of time. We are going to take a little break now because we've got somebody else on the line. Phil from Monk Seaton. He is also interested in saving the cooperage. Let's see what he has to say immediately after this.
This is real-life conversation with the voice of the North.
This is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Call 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we have some more I'm So Toughs coming in. Keep them coming. Alan, Ross, Michael and the night shift lads here at Senstronics are having a huge debate about a difficult topic between two old rivals. And we'd like to know your thoughts. What's better, custard creams or bourbon biscuits? Hey, lads, come on. First of all, can I just say you have picked arguably two of the cheapest biscuits. Bourbons used to be really quite posh. Custard creams, the biscuit of the people. Bourbons were slightly posher. So I would have to go with the common folk, the custard cream. However, I would like to throw into the mix the joker of the pack, which has always been the Jammy Dodger. So, if we're talking best biscuit, Night Owls, where do you stand? Because you cannot just leave it custard creams or bourbons, even though they are packets that you can now buy at for relatively little. We're talking less than 2 packets in a pound shop kind of thing, you know. So, Jammy Dodger, does that trump them? Because you can't have stuff like wagon wheels anymore, because they used to be the size of wagon wheels. Now they're roughly the size of the top of a tin can, which isn't funny. Also, I'm so tough. Eddie's come in with this one. I am so tough, I have a cold shower every morning. You obviously must need one. And Geraldine says, I'm not tough at all. The toughest thing I ever did when Blockbuster was in existence with videos, brackets VHS, I took a video back without rewinding it. Blimey, living on the edge. Let's go. We have another Cooperage call, and it's Phil in Monkseaton. Hi, Phil.
Howdy doody. How you doing, mate?
Good. Tell me about your involvement with this. Are you involved with the campaign or just supportive of it?
I certainly am, but I just want to interject here, if I can.
Do.
And I want to see your Johnny Dodger and Ray's Gypsy Creams.
Oh, that's cruel. That's cruel, because they are nice Gypsy Creams.
They were.
Yeah. I once had a Gypsy. I didn't have any pudding, but I did have a jar of carnation milk. And I once put a Gypsy Cream slightly in the oven for like 2 minutes just to warm it up. And I had it with that carnation. And I tell you, they should make Gypsy Cream puddings, because it was a gorgeous thing. So that has put the cat among the pigeons. But let's get to the thing in question, the Cooperage. I mean, presumably you were another, like us all, who spent a bit of time in there.
Yeah, it had been known. Yeah. But not only that, I think I was born a history nut. So I think I've got more... I think I'm more attached to it from a sort of a history geek kind of way than actually sort of being a punter, although, like I say, I did home the place myself sometimes.
I think the whole idea, though, of the thousands of things that happened there and around it is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just incredible. And I know people say, well, it's an old building now. My worry is, how do you secure, because you've had the guy on who's a Cooper, coincidentally, but how do you get the belly of a building that's bursting at the seams at the side, how do you get that square again without having to pull the whole thing down?
It's been done next door. If you see the building on the other side of the long stairs, you can see the huge kind of the evidence of the huge braces that they've put in and whatever, and they've pulled that wall back in. So it's not it's by no means beyond salvageable. It's going to take some doing, and somebody who's a damn good builder or a restorer, but it's not beyond.
No, I hope not. I mean, it just seems that over the last few years there's been a fight to save it, a fight to keep it going, a fight to keep the pub going? And then when that didn't happen, can we hire it out for venues? But then you've got to keep it in a decent condition. And and I haven't been in for a long time, but I did go down and have a look at it locked away, and it did look like it would need a bit of work before you could even open it. I don't even think it's safe for the public as it stands.
Yeah. Well, we had. I'm actually running the Save the Cooperage campaign at the moment on Facebook.
Right.
We shall have a proper website courtesy of some friends in Atlanta, Georgia.
Great.
Believe it or
not.
Very shortly. So watch this space.
We will watch for it. Are you hoping that somebody can come along and take it off the developers and have a plan for it?
Well, I know the ultimate goal for us is to have the building secured, and its future secured from neglect again. It's been over 10 years now.
Sure.
And I think that the owners demonstrated either a lack of will to do anything with the building, and it's subsequently been left, or the fact that he's found out because of events that led him to close it in the first place. He's been rumoured with this white elephant that he doesn't know. It's a sink to throw his money in. So we're so concerned about that aspect that we need to offer him help, or we need to find a way to take the building and restore it as much as we can. Like I say, I mean, there's time gone by, years and years of rain ingress and whatever. I've had conflicting survey reports, one very bad, one pretty good, but it doesn't help the fact that once again it's closed up, and left to the elements again, once again to just decay in the same situation. It's not good enough. This is a listed building. It's not the Grade 2 star listed building, which means it's, I think it's in the top 2.5% of listed buildings.
Because, I mean, a lot of people seem to think, it's probably like 1800s or late 1700s. This is 1430, this. I mean, that's ridiculously old.
I mean, if you want a kind of a whistle-stop history lesson, that would take up a long afternoon of somebody telling all the bits and bobs. Just to
name the kings would probably fill an afternoon. It's been there during all of that history. Absolutely amazing. It's
the Great Fire of London, 1854, destroyed most of everything on the quayside, but
not the Cooperage.
No, and we're just going to let it fall into the street. I don't think so. No. This is an icon of the quayside. It's an icon of Newcastle, and it's physical evidence of our existence, of the Geordies, the whole of the northeast. It's what people see when they're coming along the Tyne. They'll see it. You know, we get. I've heard from so many people who visit the place. What's happening here? That's beautiful. Why aren't you doing something with it? Isn't it a shame?
You can imagine, though, the tall ships and coming in across the 15, 16, 17, 1800s and coming up the Tyne, seeing their favourite tavern and getting off there and going straight, I mean, literally across the road from the river to their favourite hostelry. You can see that whole historical thing going. Because if you look at the quayside, yes, they've done a lovely job of modernising the whole thing, but they haven't given you any flavour of the glorious history of the big river. You know.
And why shouldn't we? I mean, there's a. You look good on the country. People have got a canal. They've got a cathedral. They've got Stratford, for God's sake. Sure. Places like Stratford. I mean, it's a walk-in museum.
Yeah, it should be.
Why shouldn't we be allowed that? Why shouldn't we have that up there? I mean, are we so different?
Hey, well said. Well said. So if people want to get in touch, they can go to the what page?
Yes.
What page should they look for?
Save the Cooperage
Simple as.
on Facebook.
Right.
That's our main sort of sender. In fact, it's possibly we're on at the moment.
Right.
And we have an online petition at change.org and a GoFundMe going as well. You can search for our Cooperage. We will come up. We've got a demonstration actually in the pipeline for November 3rd.
Right.
And
make sure you come on here before then to give it another show as well. Make sure you get as many as you can.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke to you last year.
Right.
Around about the time that you did your live recording.
I remember.
That's not an oxymoron.
No, absolutely. But hey, thank you very much, Phil, for keeping on. We'll be watching you every step of the way. Thanks for coming on.
Alan, you're a good egg. Thanks.
Bless you, man. Bye-bye. They're just good people trying to save a little bit. You know how much I love history. Blame me, if you could tell the history of that building over those years. There's a Netflix mini-series that I'd want to watch. 0191 488 3188, or you can text Alan plus your message to 61054. We have a new podcast out this week. Every Wednesday there is an Alan Robson's Grizzly Tales podcast. Get them from wherever you get podcasts from. I have no idea. I just tell the story. And how you do it? Tony throws it down there to the populace. If you're after it, if it's your kind of thing, please do. I'm going to play a little piece of music for you now, and then we've got Alison in Anfield playing.